You're listening to Dark City Radio Live, and this is your host Dawn from the Darkcity Crew. Tune in at www.darkcityradio.com. You can find us by searching Dark City Radio on Facebook or Twitter.
I have to channel the spirit. All right, let's see here.
This is not our radio. This is your radio. Dark City Radio.
Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So if you want the truth, go to
Dark City Radio.
We are open. This is the Darkcity Show. We're joined by the Darkcity Crew, which expands every time we do one of these. It's nice to see a few old faces returning and a few new ones with us. So welcome to Peter, who joined us from the show, and his videos up on YouTube. We've got Sarah from the crew, who takes a lot of notes for us. She's going to do a show on, what's she doing that show on? She's going to do that show on herbalists.
Herbalist medicine, and about how the restrictions that are coming in and how to overcome them and to keep it alive, and how everyone can do it and how everyone can be part of it. And if you've got anything that you want to ring up for, any elements, you can join in the show, and we will hopefully be able to help you with them.
So that's a new show coming up in a few weeks. That schedule is kind of filling up quite quick now, which is brilliant, really brilliant, because we are a baby station, aren't we, after all? Although I think we might have broken caster this evening. Not too sure of that. I don't think we've ever had that kind of people move on and off. Well, that was good for them as well, because they're a beta. Also, we've got a show very much strongly in the pipeline. I was in a conversation today with our Dawn with the Dark City. And that's based around gardening, permaculture, and alternative gardening techniques. So that's going to be like the gardening show. That's going to be coming on as well. I'm going to get that lady on, get her on the Dark City, have a chat. So yeah, there's two more new ones coming in. From last week, Bob's Earthwise. Bang, what a brilliant success that was. Absolutely brilliant success. Bob's with us tonight. He may have a little bit more about that. But check out that Bob's new show. That's on a Saturday. And that's Resistance News. What has actually only happened in the last day or two is with Twitter. I'm a tweeter. Oh, is it? No, never mind. I've got into that. Dawn's done that. Dawn's kind of shown us how to go about that and set it up. That's really cool. So we've now got a Twitter and we've got a Facebook page. And we're also now got the website. Couldn't mention this before. Dark City runs on a shoestring. We had to wait for a bit of finances to come in. But now we have actually purchased darkcityradio.com.co.uk. So all the people out there who've tried to stick it to us for no good reason, no, you all missed that one. We were too poor to buy it, but it's ours now. So we got that darkcity.com. So it's dead easy for you to find now. darkcityradio.com or .co.uk. And we got that as well, but that'll be a day or two before it's fully activated. Vosto, the Count Vosto, and the new jingle we've put up there. That's got Dawn on the end of it. It's got Rupert on it. I'm in there. There's a little bit of me in there. And the people who come forward, there's another, was it Dan today and Matt today? Excuse me, spoke to him on the telephone. I had quite a busy day myself. He's going to come down and see us, get a few ideas. He's going to do some jingles for the show. Shows that are coming along. So yeah, brilliant. Keep your eye on that schedule. It is starting to fill up now. If you do want to get on, this is the time to get in touch with us. Don't think we're too busy. We are busy. If you want to do some producing, we could do with getting a few more people. And that involves a little bit of technical skill, but it's quite simple. It's only using Winamp operating Skype via TeamViewer. But we need to know who you are, and we need to make sure you're okay on that. Because if we don't all work together on that, then we'll have no radio for anybody. So DJs, we've got a couple of DJs out there want to do sets. Yes, please send us this stuff. Send us your sets. Send us your music with a bit of a note with it, and we'll stick it on the playlist during the day. I haven't got a problem with doing that. If you want a simulcast, we're going to do that when we haven't got shows. The simulcast will get moved. We want as much to have live radio as much as we can. So I hope I haven't missed anybody. I probably have. My apologies if I have. But a massive thanks to all them people I haven't helped with the help and in construction and building this Dark City. It is your radio, as Vosto quite rightly points out on the new jingle. Share that around, push it if you can. I know I said we're not launching yet, but hey, I have now kind of accepted the fact that this has begun and it is moving, and really none of us can stop it. That's what it's doing. So yeah, you might as well carry on now. I suppose we could say that we're off. Anyway, I'll shut up. I'm sure there are people out there. I know Robohippy wanted to mention something. So I'll throw that over to Robohippy.
Yeah, I did. It was earlier.
As best you can. Away you go, Jim.
It was earlier on in the conversation, Charlie. Yeah, hey, Charlie. My question was, earlier on in the conversation, you were starting to say something about the spiritual aspect of what you were doing the love police and that lot, which I think was a really important point you brought up. Would you like to sort of like say what you were going to say on that or something around it?
Yeah, as Paul pointed out, I've just done 2 hours, so I'll keep it brief, but thanks for asking and thanks for noticing that, because to me, it's the biggest part of the love police and like doing what I do is to inspire other people and myself at the same time to not just back down in our kind of culturally programmed or like authority and obedience kind of programs, which are put into everyone from a very early age. And it's knowing that you are this kind of manifestation of consciousness that is somehow in this supposed 3D physical kind of scientific world at the same time as being spiritual, which I find so fascinating. And I find the whole idea of authority and telling other people what to do ridiculous. And that's why my work goes that way. But thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's the only question I've got. Thank you very much.
He's cute, isn't he? Isn't he lovely, our Robo?
It was very important. It was very important to me.
Oh no, I agree with you, man. It's lovely. It's just lovely the way you say it, and you're quite right, man. I was inspired, by Danny Shine, and I know Danny had a few difficulties, and the way I was, and I'm not saying this is the truth, of course. This is just where I saw it from. The Love Police was getting kicked up and got going, and I thought that's a brilliant idea. What a brilliant idea! We built a snowman. After Danny actually got arrested. I think he was arrested. Yeah, he was arrested for holding up that sign. Was it in Boots or somewhere? Everything is okay. Holding up a sign is what was it? Some public offence. I don't remember now exactly what it was. But it inspired me. And we built the big snowman, and all the kids joined in. And before we'd finished, it was holding up a sign. It said everything's okay. And well, when we did that, people, the police and the traffic, what do they call them, these CPSOs and so forth, we were like really kind of joying, jumping like, come over, get your picture taken with the police, with the snowman and stuff. And they were like, they shied away. And that was when I first noticed about, grounding, I don't know what you want to call it, grounding a positive energy, like doing something constructive. And what they're going to do, arrest a snowman for doing no more than what Danny have done and what Charlie have done. They've stood on street corners and, it's street theatre. Of course, I can also get that a lot of the time you can be shouting. It's like shouting at the mentally ill and telling them how stupid they are. I get that. I've been there. I've been down on the streets, but I didn't shout at that. That's not what I was doing. I mean, I know some people see it that way. And I know that you've got to learn your technique. But for me, that was kind of the beginning. It was the beginning. I've done a lot of studying it, you know. But that's when I began to put it into practice. And that has been a whirlwind. It really has been a whirlwind. I now know that we can't make things better by beating them. We can't. We're not going to make it better by pointing our fingers at one another. We are at war. But this isn't a war of blood and bullets. This is about a war of will and of consciousness. We've been dumbed down. Yeah, I can accept that. I lived a life that was completely fake. Completely fake. How real is the life I'm living now? You know, am I being alluded further? I couldn't do that. I'm not certain enough to be able to point my finger at someone else and say your life is worse or better, or they are righter or wronger than me. I really am not qualified to do that. Although I can't deny that if you have a positive focus, it might not stop you getting the jackboot in your face. It might not stop you getting beaten down with riot batons or locked in a cell. It might not. But you will recover. You'll recover fast and you'll be stronger every time. Every single thing that's been done to us or individuals, we get stronger at, we get better at. I know that because I've lived it. That's my experience. I don't like people pointing the finger at other people and saying, you know, you've done this and you've done that. I grasp that we are all irreputably connected together in some form, some way. I don't know. Maybe just say the air we breathe, you know, or let's say we're all resident on this planet. There's many we could choose. Can't we just identify those things rather than pointing our fingers at one another, giving our authority to these people who are no more qualified? They're no more qualified than anyone else to take authority. And then when they come up with stupid decisions, when they make mistakes, and we blame them instantly. Hang on a minute. We focused our energy on them people. We pushed them to the forefront. They were our soldiers. They were our leaders. They're the ones that got us to rise. Us lot sat around in this room tonight. You lot listening. They were our inspiration. That's like me turning up at your house and kicking your grandma in the face. You won't like it. You know, so these people inspired me to do what I'm doing today. And I'm around a really beautiful bunch of creative people. And they are creative. They really are. So, yeah, let's continue with that. I do believe that was Paul. Hey, Paul. Are you doing it here? Go on, shut me up. Shut me up.
How are you doing?
I've had my rant now. Right on, people. Right
What
on.
a day. This has been brilliant today.
Want to tell us about your day?
Oh, I don't know. I woke up about 5:30. And then, just learnt loads of stuff. And, I can't even, I'm lost for words because if I tried to explain it, the only thing I can do now actually is tell stories. I can tell stories and explain things in stories now. And I can explain them very clearly. But I'm not allowed to tell them as, not in stories, basically. I can't explain things not in stories. So I'll tell a story later if you want. Just a short one.
A bedtime story?
I think you've got to tell a story now.
Okay, alright, I'll tell you a story if you want now. Are you sure? You ready?
Just before you
Come
start,
on,
Paul,
bring it.
well, can we just mention that the phone lines are open? That number's 0161 298 0298. Outside the UK, you need 0044 161 298 0298. Or alternatively, you can catch us through Skype, and that's Bob's Backyard. One word, Bob's Backyard, and we'll get you in the conversation. Thank you. Please continue.
Okay. So this is a story I wrote today. So, you know, I don't know, it's never going to be finished though, because it doesn't end. There's a story that might scare you. It starts out, and it's about this young lad, and he's sat there, and he's no, it's you actually. It's you. You're sat on the edge of the universe, like an ant on a football. Just outside. If the universe was the football, you'd be an ant on the edge, and you're surrounded in darkness. as every part of the universe before and after you stands completely empty, but alive. And throughout your eternal, and I mean eternal suspension in this nothingness, you're visited by one person. We'll call him the One. And this one, you don't know how the One is, you don't know who the One is, but the One appears in every one you meet. Sometimes he will appear to be godlike and happy and smiling. He makes you feel comfortable and kind and happy. And the other times he will appear as devil-like, and he'll have a look about him that just strikes fear into you. And his power will literally be in bringing forth your emotions. And all the time, no matter what you do, the ball, the universe, the One, this one person that visits you is all you have. It's just this one other person who's constantly changing and constantly being something, and you never know what it is. And you cannot die. You're here forever in this emptiness, and this one person keeps visiting you with a billion faces. And he says to you, I am all you have for eternity, and you are not all I have. He whispers in your ear. But it never stops. There's no end to it. There's no escaping. Death's coming, and you fear it, but there's no escaping. It's never coming. It's just around the corner, and yet it's never here. And all the distractions and thought and noise and hatred and anger and language and contracts and hatred and anger, depression and silence. It's all too much. Bright, soft, white light surrounds you. You look to the One, and he smiles back at you as you stay quiet among the distractions and begin to learn. And every time you try to twist his word, a darkness starts to cascade fractally over your being. He smirks and reminding you that one fact, the truth that says that you can be safe with no fear. The only truth you know to be true. Human, you don't because you are. You think because I am. An eternity of fear, a split second. The One smiles you in a much brighter light. Trust me. You are me. Another short eternity. The One laughs at you. You laugh with the warmth of being silent among the chaos, and let it flow over your entire body, and all your worries are washed away in heavenly philosophy. And breathe. This is my scripture in truth, because I don't know, but I have to, or I shall walk alone. And that's my story.
Huzzah!
Very nice.
What a response.
No, it was beautiful. I think, it's sounds like a spiritual awakening story, of like your own way of telling that tale. And it was really nice to hear.
Very deep, yeah.
There's only two people in this world. Well, there's the One and the other one. There's no chosen one. But once you realise the other one is the one anyway, it all becomes a bit... You realise that everything you ever say and think is just a lie. It's just you twisting lies to make truth, and that's exactly what human beings are here for. We're just here to turn lies into truth. And that's why we can never die, because it's all a lie. Life is a lie. We cannot die because it's all a lie. You're here forever. So unless you want to carry on just being ignorant to the other one, because you're the chosen one apparently. Not you. I'm not speaking to anyone individually here. Just the other one. Carry on. You know what I mean? I don't care. I'm happy. I'm happy being the one. Sorry.
You're a very unique and interesting individual, Paul.
I didn't used to be. I was, sort of, but... No, I was, but I just didn't know it. Oh, sorry. It's been a great day.
Oh, surely you don't need to apologise for a great day. Good to hear you in such high spirits, Paul. Really is good to hear you, man. And what a brilliant vision you shared with us. I get you saying it's a story, but that was That was cracking, man. That was brilliant, man. Cool.
The other one's also the Illuminati.
The
until the one
Illuminati of
becomes
my
the
own
Illuminati.
imagination.
Can you rap, Paul? Can you do that in a rap?
Yeah, I'm gonna, I think.
Right, sweet.
I think, I mean, what your story kind of brings to like a culmination, and what I found from the whole thing of tonight is, and in general, the pattern, it's all a pattern. And I think that in terms of conspiracy theories, one thing I do buy into is that there is something going on in terms of an apocalypse, in terms of an unveiling, and it's in the collective consciousness, the unconscious being brought to light. You're seeing it in the mainstream now about the Pope is on the run for his sex allegations against little kiddies. Jimmy Savile, everything is coming to light, and it's not just externally, it's internally. And I think the pattern was that we were going around in circles, and it was arguing details that ultimately we all have the same goal, that we don't want to keep arguing and fighting over petty things. There are people on the other side of the planet starving whilst we're even able to argue about these things, and we forget the goal, and we get lost in you know, the things that it's good to be self-aware, but we get lost in that self-awareness sometimes to a point where it becomes not self-obsession, but one identification I want to make, and I'm happy to say it, you know, out loud, is that a lot of intentions we see as pure, and they are pure, we have manipulated, and I've experienced this myself, and I've seen it in others, especially in the past 4 years. We think we're free of ego, and we think that we're completely void of it, and we're aware. But I've seen it in myself, but more as in other people, that's made it realize in myself, like a mirror, which is what we're forgetting to see all the time, is that our intentions are obscured a lot of the time, and we lose sight of it. And it's the ego tricking us into a weird sort of, you know, self-gratification, in a sense, and a gratification of what we already know to be true, because for very many reasons that are very primal in the gut, like pride, we don't want to, you know, do these things, and that'll upset how people perceive us. Like we all, everybody's damaged basically, and I think we all get hung up on personal things, on little things, and it becomes a sort of charade as opposed to focusing on the real thing. I mean, getting to the allotments. Last time I went, it wasn't last Saturday, the time before, it made me realize, because it was a nice sunny day, that I have a lot of frustrations, I have a lot of thoughts. We're all deep thinkers, I think, and we all realize the world problems in our own ways. But what really I found therapeutic was just digging and planting vegetables, because it's just so basic, but it's something that we've lost, and there's no abstraction there. You're going to put something in the ground, you know what you're going to put in there, you can expect whether it's going to grow or not. That's the probability, that's the excitement. But if it grows, you know you're going to get like onions or whatever, and then you've harvested something of value that you can use. And we've got lost so often in the abstractions, and it's time, I think, to get real again. I mean, I think it was Pete mentioned before, Holographic Sentience, I think it was, about how he wants to see a world where the people that are starving are walking around malls, you know, in the future with the iPhones. But I think what we've failed to see is that our lifestyle, where we harvest the minerals from the same countries that these people are starving in, is that we've become excessive. There's not an overpopulation problem. It's our lifestyle and the way that we've, well, not chosen, but we've just been born into this merry-go-round, and a lot of us have opened our eyes to see that it's very ill, actually, what's going on in this fixation, and it is a deception that we find iPhones in the first place a necessity. I mean, I have a phone that connects to the internet, and I get caught up on it sometimes. And if I'm honest, if it wasn't for my parents keeping up my phone contract forcefully every time I lost and broke one, I wouldn't have one, because you know, I'm just not really great with technology, because even when I do, I find I learn a lot of things, don't get me wrong. And but before I even had the internet, I just, you know, read a few books, and I think I've always been that way inclined. And a lot of people in this so-called activist or truth movement have, and we, you know, it's damaged people are able to see that from what they've felt from society. So what the point I was making was with the vision of African, and other deprived countries that don't quite have the same even essentials that we have, having those luxuries. I think the truth lies in the middle there, that we ourselves need to set a better standard of living in the first place. The system that we currently live in doesn't serve the interests of the common person as it was supposed to. The system was all based on science. Even if anybody's looked into the work of Rupert Sheldrake would see, it is materialism and reductionism is a philosophy separate from empirical science that in itself is an illness. And this idea of progress isn't progress at all. We need to be able to be humble enough to take a step back in the way that we live. And the way that we interact with one another, and set a better standard of living in the sense that the energy that we use, the way that we choose to spend our time, because not us in general, but TV, and even then we find ways to distract ourselves. Right now it's good that we're talking. I think that's probably the best thing as well. But I suppose anyone could argue we could be out there in Africa helping people in aid missions. And that is a good point, and people should do that. But I think on this side as well, where we've got the chance to talk and this sort of apocalyptic unveiling of the collective unconsciousness externally, internally, we have a prime chance to reevaluate how we interact and just see the patterns of division that we set ourselves, as opposed to focusing so much on the nitty gritty that divides us. And that was a rant.
That was good, right? Can I just say completely right? I think you're there. But I think we got to stop thinking we're right. Yeah, on this side. Humans have been around for thousands of years. Yeah.
Yeah, but truth is to an extent subjective, isn't it? You can always know things, like knowledge. You can know things, like anybody can be knowledgeable if you have the will to do so, but to know, the truth and knowledge are two separate things in a sense, because you can have lots of logical ideas that come to logical conclusions, but it's not necessarily the truth. And people experience their truths on a subject, and the only real truth is subjective. If you've seen something with your own eyes and you felt it, but even then it gets deeper when you don't trust your own senses, if you get into quantum physics and things like that. But if you're going to live your life that way, I think you miss the point. It becomes, it says, Alan Watts said, it becomes when you try and live at that esoteric level on a basic, like not fundamental, the abstract 3D realm, when we know these truths, it just becomes more of like a charade of it. It's as if, it's just, I think we have to just facilitate and be patient with things in terms of other people and their opinions. But when I don't get what we're doing in a sense of productive change, when we're just focusing on what's right and what's wrong in terms of I don't get what you mean, like they're right about what exactly, or you're right about what.
The conflict, their opponent, remove your opponent. So whoever you've been struggling or whatever you've been struggling against, see them as your teacher rather than as what they would be known as the emissary, hopefully. So we learn from one another. Of course, you have to get an agreement to learn from both parties. So at least turn the thing that has been your enemy into your teacher. Embrace it.
Brilliant.
Well, yeah.
Well, there's also another aspect of...
Oh, you're a bit quiet, Bob.
There's also another aspect of knowing what the truth is and getting back to how good it is to turn soil over and grow your own food. There's two really interesting connections there. And one is the bacteria that's in the soil. When you turn the soil, it obviously gets released into the air and you breathe it in. And this bacteria stimulates serotonin. So straight away, we know, without even having to know the science, that growing stuff is good for us. And then the second connection is all life has DMT, and when you're growing plants, you're communicating with them and they respond to you, and they will grow the best way they can to help you if you treat them as sentient beings. So yeah, knowing stuff is all right brain, and the science to describe how we know it is all left brain, and it's keeping the balance right between the two and not getting too just totally right brain, because then you appear to be totally off the wall, and not being totally left brain where you have to have something proven to you before you'll accept it as a knowing.
Can I just say something quick as well to everyone listening? Don't believe in God. God's unbelievable.
God is gold, oil, and drugs.
Nah, real God is unbelievable.
Beyond your belief, of course. God would be beyond belief, because you wouldn't need a lie. You need to live a lie to have a belief. I've just got a question come in. Question, please. Is ego a byproduct of status?
From what I know, ego is actually something that we all have. Your ego, anybody who's got a personality, basically, even if it's a really meek, boring personality, you might have tendencies like OCD, or you might have anything at all that you use to interact with the world. But I think then to say things like that, you've got all different types if you're going into it psychologically, categorizing it. Like you've got the super ego as well, you know, if you're gonna go deep. But I think ego is something that's fundamental to everybody's mental construct, and it's obviously there's give and take, you know, in special cases. I don't know everybody's psychological makeup, but anybody else want to say? That's my thing.
Yeah, I think the status thing was right though. Ego, like I said about being on the outside of the universe, that if you were everything, you'd be very bored. So you split yourself up and you give everyone an ego, and that's the one thing that says, nah, I'm different. I'm different.
Yeah.
I'm not you. I'm different because, but wow, you know, and that's all it is.
Yeah, it's a game. It's hide and seek, and it's God playing hide and seek with itself.
Yeah, the devil.
We get that, but the point with ego is that I think everybody fails to see that sometimes our own egos that we're all subject to, even the most enlightened people, like, you know, tend to have the most blind spots as well. And those blind spots are where our ego and our self-sabotage comes into it. And it's not just inherent in the human psyche, it's played upon, and it's, you know, it's emphasized through our cultural programming. So if we were to focus, say, on other parts of our psyche, like the self, or even then, the ego will always be a tool to communicate, no matter what you do. It's just how you use your ego. I mean, you know, everybody loves a flamboyant, bubbly personality, and that's the product of an ego. But status can inflame an ego to become, you know, self-referential and narcissistic, I suppose. So then it becomes a problem, you know. But, you know, we all have to just be aware of our own, I suppose. I don't know. Anybody else?
The ego is a problem when you think it is?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that basically, isn't it? Yeah, or if you're using it wrong. But then even then, when you think it is, I mean, what's thinking? I mean, who controls your thinking? That voice in your head, technically, to an extent, is the ego.
That's the other one. That's the other
one. You know, the thing, and it's been in alignment, and I think it's, as Bob said before, it's balance, isn't it, between what you'd say left and right brain, or even self and ego, the duality. It's all balance.
I would agree. I would agree with if you've got a problem with your ego, then you've got a problem. I would agree with that. And I think you could lay that over many other things. If you have got an issue with something, whatever name we're going to give it, then that's you who's got an issue with something. So that would be a personal thing for each one of us to deal with. Now, I suspect if we did deal with these small issues, I mean, okay, they might be large for some, when you're dealing with it. But if each one of us dealt with our own issues, then we wouldn't be pointing our fingers and looking for solutions. So I go with the perception of there being a problem may actually have quite a hand in the creation of the problem, or at least the manipulation into a state where we perceive that there is a problem. Oh, it's a tricky tightrope, I suppose. But we're known for going down the rabbit hole. That's what we're known for. So within consciousness, is there another one? Maybe you're experiencing a polarity or a duality. There is a good possibility of this. If you are under the perception that there is you and another, I would suggest you are right next to what could be called the singularity, or maybe even source. And by that I don't mean HP or tomato. I actually mean what many people would say is the central point where most things emanate from. Of course, this is only a perception, but if you are in duality or polarity, then I would say the next step would be singularity.
That's a good way of putting it, I think, Bob, isn't it? Bob. I said Bob because you Bob back, yeah, Paul.
That's okay. That's okay. It's just when we've got the other Bob in, we're both Bob, and that Bob does what this Bob does. So it can get very confusing. It can get confused. So yeah, again, it's only another perspective. By removing, and I'm trying to keep up with the rabbit hole here, and by acknowledging first that as an individual that you have an issue, or you have a problem, or you're in conflict with something, regardless of what name you give it. I mean, name is a good thing to do, because at least then you can identify with it when you come across it again. So if you can see that, and then you can turn that, what you may have been in conflict with, or you perceived you may have had a problem with ego, or you may have had a problem with whatever, your balance, or whatever it is. Once you can identify that you did perceive there was a problem, and therefore divided yourself, then I would suggest you're actually on the track to actually recognizing the division and accepting the division that we now live. That's just where I get it. I can't.
Beautiful way of putting it. Sorry, no, I was going to make a suggestion that so that everybody gets a good say as well. Maybe we should put forward something in the spirit of unity and commonalities. Like, does everybody agree that they want a better world at least?
Yeah, this is holographic talking, but I don't see anything particularly wrong with the idea of conflict in the world.
No, I don't either. Obviously, this is what I always say. Once everybody's got the basic needs met in the world, without it having to be held ransom, then everybody's going to have conflict from then on. Nobody disputes that. We'll still have to go from there. But I mean, in terms of a better world that doesn't pride itself on the destruction of other nations in order to thrive, a world where people don't focus so much on trivial things and focus on things that may benefit the world, benefit their own life. Like Bob said, getting back to that, just sensing our world as opposed to filling it with, just like I said, trivial nonsense. Well, what you define as a better world. I mean, this is what I mean. Let's not divide so much. If we all want a better world, I was going to say, why don't everybody individually, so they get a say that they could suggest their way to, or how they perceive it to go, just for like 5 minutes each. Is a suggestion anyway, but whatever.
Right. Personally, just from my perspective, I think it's a grand kind of idea that, people should have enough. Or there's no reason why it can't happen now. The only reason it doesn't happen now is politics and economics, There's enough food in the world for everybody. There's enough wealth in the world to be spread around equally, but why stop there? I don't get this idea that we should just be happy if everybody around the world has the basic necessities. Why stop at the basic necessities? There's no reason to stop there. We can have, I think as Rosa Luxemburg once said, let's have an abundance,
I agree.
So that's in terms of like, sorry, Stacey, but that's in terms of everything. I'm talking about infrastructure from like roads to hospitals to schools, not just things like iPhones and nice computers and stuff. Although I do think that they really, I'm talking on an iPhone now, and it's an amazing little tool, and I think everybody should have access to that. It's a tool of communication, as are all our computers and whatever, and I think everybody around the world should have kind of at least the level of infrastructure we've got now. And who's to say that in 50 or 60 years' time, when we're all gone, that the world won't be like 10 times as wealthy as it is now? I think there's a lot of doom and gloom about, especially within what I would call the alternative media, the so-called truther community, that suggests like we've never had it so bad and we're all oppressed and all this. And I really don't see the evidence for that. We're actually living longer, we're healthier, generally speaking. And this is not just Britain and America and places like that, but that's kind of worldwide generally. So I just want to kind of keep pushing that positive idea.
No. I think that you've just demonstrated yourself that you playing contrarian when I've suggested a way for everybody to like get along and maybe envision a better world, have created division by saying that. May I suggest that I'm not saying that everybody on this planet is entitled to water, food. We have the technology to do it. Like you said, we have the food, we have the abundance to do it. But we shouldn't also, like I was saying about focusing on ourselves, be in charge of other people from that point on. Once basic needs are met, it shouldn't be from that point on anybody else's responsibility except self to develop, because it's the only true way without wars that we'll be able to do it. Yeah, localized one. Yeah, localized conflict. But we can still do this without it having to be out, like there's a central point where everybody's like dishing out all these, roads being manufactured by the central government, because then you do know that there will be people with money and power and persuasion that will always get into that position if you centralize power too much. It's just known about history. So we have to develop a completely new system in doing this. And the only way to do that is to ensure that people around the world have the ability to live off-grid, to have the basic essentials, clean water and health, like the access to be able to have hygiene and stuff like that. And then go from there. They can develop how they want to go, and the diversity, and therefore always conflict. But as long as we just focus more on our own tribe, and it grows from there, and it makes logical sense. But I think it's come to a point where, do we want to carry on the merry-go-round and just let the system decay, or do we want to take a step back? And we could develop here a community of people that willing to take a step back and, like we were saying, dig in and getting back to growing our own food and taking a step back, but still maintaining these things. And at the same time, it deprives a system that does thrive at the moment currently on destroying other countries and nations, when since Tesla was around, we've had the technology to enable everybody to have electricity around the world if we choose, instead of spending money on fucking warfare. And it is a focus as well that we've been led to. It's been manufactured consent, but it's we've still perpetuate it. And if you're gonna like divide and come on here and say that we're the ones that are dividing things up and always having a moan, well, you're moaning at me suggesting us. See how it's all fractal. You see the pattern, and we've got to just see the pattern. And that's
I think you have to have conflict, and you have to have what I would call a battle of ideas. So you end up eventually, hopefully, with a coherent set of ideas about how to change the world for the better. My own personal perspective is that, you could, get yourself an allotment, you could go back to the land, you could live off grid, but that's not really, that's kind of where the people in Africa are at. They're kind of living a subsistence level of existence. And that's why they're prone to things like starvation, because they don't have the infrastructure. We're not prone to starvation because we have the infrastructure.
Poverty. You're mistaking living off grid for poverty. There are many technologies of biostructure out that many ecologists have been doing, and middle class people choose to have. Have you seen grand designs for God's sake? And money, like you said, economics and politics, i.e. bullshit, are the only things stopping anybody. I mean, at the end of the day, we should be able to all argue. I agree that is the case, but at the moment, currently, people on this planet don't have water. There's people in this country that are fucking committing suicide because they can't pay bills. People who are disabled can't pay anything because money is going into privatized hands. And we don't have the luxury to sit around all day and philosophize. We want them to have that ability. So do you know what I'm saying? This is where we've got to like draw a line and stop arguing and stop thinking and do something now, because we want everybody to have that luxury. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I actually work with disabled people and have done for the past 14 years, so I know exactly what you're talking about in relation to things like that. I'll just say that from my perspective, when you're talking about this stuff generally, it sounds like a kind of, and I understand the kind of need for it in some people's hearts, you know, this kind of rosy spectacled look at the land and off-grid and all this kind of stuff. All I'm saying is that you need some amount of centralization and you need that kind of infrastructure right across the planet. So I don't belong to any tribe. Well, if I do, it's like there's only one tribe, really, isn't there?
Yeah, agreed. That's what I'm saying. We're a collective consciousness, so you can't really negate that other people are suffering. Otherwise, all our like luxuries are based on their suffering, because we're just completely in ignorance to that. When I'm saying like living off grid, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't have centralization of, you know, the free market, by all means, carry on. And I want, you know, to be able to use the Earth's natural resources for amazing technologies, more efficient ones that are being held back for profit, because oil, as bad as it is for, you know, harvesting and, you know, it takes ages, it's not biodegradable generally, and especially in certain forms, you know, because it's more profitable and it's easy to monopolize by people who already have the money and the machinery. It's, you know, it's holding us back, this paradigm of greed and me and I and separatism. And living off grid means that people are not restricted by the oil companies. A lot of the damage done all across like the world are because of oil companies, or because of the food industry, because of farming and stuff like that, the Amazon. And if we address these things as consumers as well in our own local community, that's one real direct step of action instead of moaning about it, isn't it?
Okay. I'll just say one more thing, Stacey, because I've got to go. I've got to kind of head back out. My perspective is obviously totally different from anybody else that is on here. So I'll just quickly say this and then sort of let you get on with it. But from my perspective, things like industrial agriculture is fantastic. We should have industrialized agriculture right across the world, and then nobody would be starving at all because it produces such an abundance of food. I'm totally pro things like the supermarkets, whereas there's quite a bit of paranoia out there about things like Tesco's and what have you. And, you know, I'm totally for the idea of consumerism, if you like. You know, I don't see a problem if somebody wants to go to the supermarket and load up on Mars bars and Coca-Cola and whatever. That's their choice, surely, you know. Not that I would suggest anybody does that, because obviously you want to eat stuff like that constantly. But from my perspective, I don't know how you sort of view me, but from my perspective, I'm just trying to sort of advocate what I see as positive and progressive solutions, which are more akin to the ideals of the Enlightenment, you know, which believe in science and progress. And I'll just leave you with that.
Science and progress, may I just add, as I said before, materialism, reductionism theory, like you said, from the Enlightenment, is actually different to the empirical testing and scientific method. And if you look Rupert Sheldrake up and research a lot of the things that he said, if you've ever listened to him, I think you might find that beneficial. Science is actually holding back. Well, not science, sorry. There's been a misinterpretation of what science is supposed to be as a practical application. And again, this is why I'm saying take a look at ourselves, because in terms of searching for particles like the Hadron Collider, lots of people are starving to death on the planet. It really does say a lot more about the human psyche collectively than it does anything about science, doesn't it? You know what I mean? And this is the thing, when people go on about progress, I mean, what's this progress that we talk of? You know, what are you in that sort of league where you believe that science as it is today is completely heading in the right direction?
No, I would say that, you know, science could be used for good or ill. And the problem you have with science in any respect, whether it's like nuclear weapons as opposed to nuclear power and this, that, and the other, is politics. And that's what people need to get a grip on, is politics, because politics directs where the science goes. It's politics that directs that we will have a trident nuclear weapon we don't need and can't use.
But how do you direct
6,
politics
8
if you're not
billion
in
or whatever?
politics?
Pardon me?
If you're not already in the club of being in politics, how do you get into politics running for a political party? And even then,
you don't have to run for a political party,
well,
Stacey. You can start your own.
Politics, because politics is all sort of like a distraction from the now. Of it's red tape to stop us trying to figure out a way to do it around that. Politics has got us in enough trouble, I believe, if anything. And rational, critical thinking has been diminished because of people leaving it to politicians and politics. But then when people try and get involved with politics, I vote. I mean, what more can you do? I mean, go around your community and remember.
Yeah.
That's
you
not...
could stand yourself and you could argue your point of view, and you could then, by doing that,
this is the
hold on a sec. You could, by doing that, you could then win people over to your ideas. You'll not win people over to your ideas as entertaining as tonight has been by these small kind of radio shows. You get out on the streets where you live, you knock on doors, you say, vote for me because I believe X, Y, and Z. And that's how political parties got started in the first place. There's no need for anybody to vote for any political party that's already out there. Start your own.
Are you aware of the Gladio effect? How individuals will try and structure themselves into the same structure and repeatedly keep making the same mistake over and over again? Are you aware of the Gladio effect?
I've never heard of that. I've heard of Operation Gladio, but I'm assuming that's
if you actually look at Operation Gladio and then look at the effect it's actually had on people, it's actually the effect. It's been going on a lot longer than Blackfriars Bridge, where most people know the story to start from, of course.
Yeah, Roberto Calvi, I remember.
A lot longer than that. But look at the effects of Gladio. It actually gets people to defend the position they're in, rather than actually trying alternatives. That's what they do. So once you're in a position of defence, then you're not in a position to actually learn.
The last thing I'll say, Paul, is that human beings, it's not one-way traffic. There's a lot of talk that, if we're consumers, that we're consumer drones or robots or sheeple or whatever. Hold on, let me quickly finish. I'm going to go as soon as I've said this. It's not a one-way street, Yes, television has advertising on it, but I start from the assumption that the average person is a logical thinking human being, the same as myself, and that they aren't just mere sponges that get stuff thrown into them. I have more respect for the average person.
That's what Paul just said. You have just said, Paul, and you've just completely missed his point. None of us, I don't even use, and I think it's completely insulting and derogatory, the term sheeple. I don't use the word truth movement to associate myself with. So I don't know who you're applying that to, because I've just had a full-blown conversation with you, so I don't know how that's relevant, because I've not used those terms.
I'm talking generally about the kind of alternate media and truth of community.
I agree with you there completely, and I'll even agree with you on some of the things you were saying about, how people treated Charlie like a celebrity. And yeah, fair enough. I think he loved it. Who doesn't? And that's the thing with the ego, as enlightened as anybody is. But I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned about in any form of group in a society, is that you have sort of fanatical people that will always become hysterical and project out their own sort of...
Yeah, Paul, can you mute your microphone? We're getting Peter, excuse me. Can you mute your microphone? We're getting your echo back to you.
Sorry, man. I'm wandering around.
It's okay.
Okay.
Please,
sorry, Stacey.
It's no worries. Am I still echoing?
No,
anyway,
you sound all right.
Yeah. So I think you're missing the point with what he was saying there, is that you're defensive. Like, I mean, I don't see how that point is relevant about sheep and stuff, but at the same time, I do kind of. I'm back on track. Sorry, because I'm echoing here. 1 second. This isn't. Can you hear me okay? It's still echoing.
Yeah, I'm getting the echo. Peter's still not muted his microphone. I mean...
I'm on my phone.
What I was saying...
right. If you would have told us that, Peter, we didn't know. That's why I've been asking you to mute.
You did say earlier on.
No, he did say it was on the phone, didn't you? But I just assumed... It's not echoing anymore. Basically, you've been on the defensive. That's what Paul was identifying. But I understand what you were saying about how there seems to have been this like sort of it's sort of an us and them mentality, and it's sort of division, and it all starts in the self, and it's all projection, because we are all ultimately one human thing. I know I'm not the one responsible for doing all this destruction and whatever personally, but when we start making these divisions, this is where it gets dangerous. And like you said, sheep and these terms are derogatory, but none of us have used that tonight, so I don't see how that's relevant.
It's relevant in terms of the alternate media or truther community over the past past few years, I would say. I'll just leave you with one last thing, and it's a quote, and I'm going to ring off and I'll see if anybody gets the quote. People, and I'm talking about the average person.
Well, excuse me, that was my error. Peter, if you can hear me, that was my apologies, man. I was hovering over it when you said you were going to ring off. Again, my apologies. I've just cut Peter off. Dear me, live radio. Again, I apologise there, Peter, if you can hear me. What did we touch on there? A bit of a rabbit hole. We like the rabbit holes, don't we? I think what Peter was saying was that if you don't like it, you should have some action, in a nutshell, and I totally agree. You don't need to sit and watch 15 hours of YouTube videos. If you are using it for entertainment, that's fine, treat it as entertainment. But if you are trying to source material and learn from it, I suggest then you might as well watch the television. Just my opinion, of course. I would suggest, pretty much around what Stacey said earlier on, go out and have some form of activity. Of course, video it, bring it back, then put it on YouTube. It's become an upload, but do something. Otherwise, we just become the YouTube. It has turned into that a complete media circus. It really is. However, again, I mentioned about somebody turning up and kicking your grandma earlier. This would be the same. Many of us, I wouldn't be where I am talking to people like Charlie. I may have met Stacey. No, I don't think we would have done. I don't think I would have even met Stacey if it hadn't been for the likes of YouTube and for the work that happened earlier. I definitely wouldn't know Dan, who's in the room. Or would I? Maybe we would have bumped into one another on the street. Who knows? The fact is, we have all met for interactions that have took place in the past. What I'm seeming to notice is more and more that people are uncomfortable. They're uncomfortable with the knowledge that our position was built on the back of tyranny and slavery, and that these things are still being orchestrated in far-off lands. And this doesn't seem to matter. They are truly, I would say, the beginnings of the birth of that family, which is not divided by creed or colour or religion. I sincerely hope that that is the case. I really do. And that we may be here on this planet when that takes place.
I think we will.
I'm pretty sure
Me
that
too.
is what is taking place, Paul. But hey, I'm not one to project. I really am not. I know there is no such thing called the future. I don't expect someone to wave a magic wand and for us all to appear in Wonderland. I really don't. If you want to do that, I suppose then it's a short-term thing for the moment. For some reason, we do keep appearing back here. Anyway, we will just play a short tune, and then we'll join you back for another hour of the Darkcity Show. If you are out there and you do want to join us, please do so.
Relocation, no station needed, especially if play kind shift the paradigm, bring in the new D's. The culture turns powerful, devil got blue knees, Darkcity Crew indeed. This time it's neon needs, could have been Beasley, easily. Peace to the soul known as Simon Measy. Jumped into the 3D after me, see one more angle, recognize blessings. This one now about to seriously flip fam. No thank you, you can keep your implant and all of your hierarchy system malarkey. We join into circles opposite the bloodline of Angela Merkel's, same as Krang in the Turtles. That much for certain. This is a movement that moves with a purpose.
I now live debt-free. I will never borrow again because I have stepped out of the game. I have signed out as being a citizen of my own country because I'm happy now to realise and recognise that I'm a child of the land of this planet. Everything has changed. Everything has become clear.
Yo, the call went out and got answered. Raise the vibration, embrace shadow dancers. Meadow man dig deep, plant seeds and reap rewards like the chords on the beat. It's simple like bar went the sheep. It's simple, make poor obsolete and deplete the elite. Delete the police, we need peace in the streets, not corporate policy enforcement peeps. Known as the popes, like both of those blokes in robes, thrones, clones and loans. Dug from a watery grave, swimming in wisdom. Rise up, take a breath, you're not the fiction. Check Black's law addiction. Don't get fooled, get informed and drop jewels on the system. Be like a cistern, full of wisdom, ready to release and flush out all the shit, son.
If you've not broken the law, which is harm, loss, fraud, then everything will be a statute or act. They'll ask you your name, just say to them, am I being detained or am I free to go? And that's all you have to say.
I'll tell you what to look up online. Look up information regarding free man on the land. No. This is all the law information that's coming out. Try and get rid of all that deception that's going out.
Understanding the cipher, TV devilish piper, mind thief in the night, rewrite ya, all day, all night, it excite ya. Now it starts to delight me too. You'll start to see more truth, like MPs with little boys found in the nude, exposed in the news to the masses. This shift is massive, positive attraction, fast action, practice, discipline daily. Yang 108 long form shape me, play with the energy, ever energy, DNA shift to original pedigree, previous enemies transmuted. Wanna know about Rasputin, Asputin, RT news on the tube, one step closer to truth, that's beautiful news.
In light of the 21st century advancement of technology, the vast knowledge available to expand humanity's collective consciousness, it seems like we constantly regress back to what we're comfortable with, even though they've been proven historically to have monumental failures.
Yes. I call it a move from superstition to science.
Let go of the anger, let go of the upset, connecting with the movement. This is a moment of evolution. All that is happening is that we are evolving as a species, we are evolving as a race, we are evolving as a being, we are evolving as a universe. This is a moment of learning. It's like breaking through an old shell into a new shell. So allow yourself to break through, even if it's painful. Allow yourself to break through focused and knowing that this is part of growth. We are becoming enlightened, we are becoming aware. Be strong, be in your heart, be of vision, do not be afraid, and I will see you somewhere, sometime. I wish you well.
Right, welcome back to the second half of the Darkcity Show. I'm Paul, commonly known as Bob. We have still got with us, Charlie and Stacey, but they're going to be cutting off in a little bit. We've got Sarah with us. Sarah Crystal Skull, I'm calling her, because she's got a crystal skull in her avatar and they've all gone dead little. We got Paul, we got Bob, we got Robo, Dan, and commonly known as, he's still kicking around there, he hasn't popped chip back in here, so it's good stuff. I've got to go and do some things, so I'm going to throw it over to you people to discuss whatever you like. There's people trying to join the server. You can't do that. People, if there's somebody out there, and I know there's one or two of you this evening, who are trying to join Darkcity Radio on Skype. No. The contact for Darkcity Radio is Bob's Backyard. Okay? That's Bob's Backyard if you want to contact via Skype. The server, of course, which answers the calls, is Darkcity Radio on Skype. So it hasn't got any friends. Doesn't have any friends. It sits in a corner and serves. It serves us. Now, I think with many of these things, we have to take a step back and see who or what is being served. Who or what is being served. We were joined in the first part of the show by Peter. Excuse me, I don't know his YouTube name. His YouTube name that he goes after. I really don't. we were joined with Peter, and Peter put over the analogy that, and I'm summing up here, of course, I'm not speaking for him, that politics was the solution, or one of the solutions, and that science has not necessarily got it all right, but it's working in the right direction. I would kind of say, to a degree, with the science, I could say, I can see that to a degree. However, I can't honestly, from where I'm stood, see that doing the same thing again and expecting a different outcome will actually bring forth anything any different than what we've already experienced. I'm one of those people, I suppose. I'm in Stacey's camp here at the moment. I'm in Stacey's camp. With it's all right us living how we are, but perhaps we need to consider our actions. Oh, Darthy, try again, mate, if you're listening. I've just messed up. I'll bring you in a second, mate. Yeah, it's to be aware of our own actions and take responsibility maybe for our own actions, and that can be difficult to do when we're living in a society that is based upon what many of us know is not necessarily serving us or the others. So yeah, politics is that a solution? So I'm gonna throw this question out to debate, but I'd like to put it over to my colleague here and fellow producer Bob Earthwise, who had his first show actually. I'm going to plug it again, and the Resistance News, which is on a Saturday, which was absolutely belting success. So congratulations again to Bob for that and all involved. And Bob Earthwise, what do you reckon, mate? Politics is the solution?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The way politics is set up is it's all party political. And as soon as you vote these people in, they're not there to represent your interest. They're there to represent the interests of the party and to ensure the power base of that party. The whole thing is a nonsense. And the way we have technology now, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't get an email saying, hey, look, do you want to vote on this?
Hello? Hello?
There's something trying to come in.
Yeah, Darthy, please mute your microphone for us, mate. It's good to have you with us. Just wait till Bob's finished, bro. Thank you. Go on, Bob.
We could get an email saying, hey, look, we need to do this or this. What do you think? Vote this way. And each individual thing could be voted on by all of us. There's absolutely no reason why we have to have the systems that we have now. And therefore, all the public servants would be exactly that. They would be doing our bidding. And, for our best interests, as opposed to how it is now, which is for the best interests of corporations. And another point, industrial agriculture. How on earth does that help the planet? I fail to see. It's about monoculture. You can't have industrial agriculture without monoculture. Or it's about altering the species of plants. Fancy putting other DNA in trees to have GMO trees. What is going on? This is insanity at its highest level. Sorry, Rand, finished.
Was that the server went down?
No, I do not believe so. The server is still there. I don't know. We just seem to lose everyone.
I unmuted my mic at that precise time, and I was like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah, we're back on live, so apologies there to people who were on the call. We just lost most of you. I don't know what happened there. But you should just be able to join the call if you are out there and you can hear us. Just click join call and you'll be back on. So yeah, maybe just a little bit. I tell you what, we've been through the mill tonight with various different things happening. Maybe that was a No, I don't think you can get it split on Skype. So, right, here we've got one ringing back in now. We've got Daniel here, so I'll just bring him back into the group call. Hi, Daniel. You've just joined us. Can you hear me okay? Right, you're very quiet there. Can you come a bit closer to your microphone? Hello, Daniel? Right, unfortunately not. We don't seem to. I got a little bit of audio there, then that was about it. Well, where were we? Bob, you were just going on about politics not being not necessarily being the right way forward, and that industrialised agriculture being. Now, I mean, we only have to look at the. Is it the Dust Bowl? They called it over in the United States, where this kind of agriculture basically just wreaked havoc.
Well, it totally depletes the soil structure. You need balanced growing to keep the soil structure in a healthy condition. You can't expect to use one type of plant year after year after year and countless amounts of chemicals on that land and expect it to remain in a healthy state. It's a living being. You know, if you treated any other living being the same way, they would die pretty damn quick, as, you know, is evident in the way lots of things are treated by mankind on this planet. We're not being a custodian species, which is what we're designed to be.
Bob, Earthwise.
Yeah.
Like if you don't change the fruits, the vegetables and such, the earth becomes vitaminless, mineralless, and rubbish. If you don't change the human beings, we become rubbish.
Well, I mean, mankind has to learn. Mankind has to evolve, and unfortunately, to a greater extent, that is happening. People can see that everything needs to be treated in the right way, and it isn't about growth the whole time. Growth is a ridiculous way to run anything. You know, it's a finite thing, growth, and once you reach the end of growth, then what do you have? Decay. You know, it's a balance. It's yin and yang. So what we need to really, really take care of our environment, you know, to the nth degree, because there will be no future if everything's dead. You know, there's a really good expression, you know, it isn't until the last tree's chopped down and the last fish is taken out of the lake that we will realise we can't eat money. And that is the truth.
Yeah, I've got to, well, I don't know, I suppose I'm a bit of an optimist, Bob. I honestly think that we won't get there, you know, where the last tree's being struck down. I mean, maybe when the last stone's fallen cast by a priest or a politician, we might get there. I don't, honestly. I wouldn't discount it, but like I said, to me, what we're doing and has already been proven in history. Historically, we need to learn from the mistakes we're making. I don't think we need to go through a destructive period to learn. I don't agree with the ideology of revolution and we've got to rise up and take over. I think that's counterproductive. You know, what more can people do? It's all right as I think bring Daniel back in again. Try him again.
Well, we can all evolve.
Oh yeah, I think we are all evolving, regardless of that. You know, on an individual level. So a gentleman contacted us, Clive, just recently. I watched a little bit of his video, and he was going on about salt. Salt's really dead good for you. And at first I was thinking, you know, is it good, bad, is it right? And when I listened to what the guy had to say about the demineralisation, and he wasn't having a go at medical doctors. He really wasn't. He was saying basically that, well, how would they know? they're not being taught this. And lo and behold, David Icke, then, I see in one of Rupert's videos, and he's going on about repeaters. Now,
Have you seen?
That's the problem.
Have you seen his the Wembley event they did?
Just so people know, that's Daniel who's just joined us. Excuse me, Daniel. Which event are you referring to?
The Wembley Arena, David Icke. I think it was a 11-hour special. You can download it online. It's a very extensive. I think it was run for about 11 hours when he pieced together quite a few of his theories. But yeah, it was quite interesting, worth checking out. You can still download it.
Yeah, like I said, I've seen a bit of his stuff. I kind of see it. Yeah, I'm not a follower of David Icke. I've seen what he's got to say. I don't agree with what he's saying. I could interpret what David has got in another manner. I don't think the Queen's a reptile. Can you mute your microphone for us, Daniel?
Yeah.
Can you mute your microphone for us?
Sorry. Yep.
It's okay, man. Don't be sorry. You're new to it. That's what it's all about. We're all learning here. For instance, the Queen is a reptilian shapeshifter. I think you might find that the consciousness and the way they live their life is reptilian in its nature, like a big lumbering dinosaur, thundering along, just crushing things in its wake, and it doesn't really comprehend that there may be others. You know, it's very old in its thinking, and it isn't really able to come up with anything but what it's already got. It can't progress. It doesn't really, as Bob said, evolve. It is very much like an old lumbering dinosaur. So the mindset of these people, yes, could be seen to be reptilian. With my own research I've done here in Ashton-under-Lyne regarding the land sieges, and people say, I mean, I'm not a conspiracy. This has nothing to do with any kind of conspiracy. This is black and white on paper, and people they still shy away from it, even when it's called hardcore evidence. And that was the Grey family. And the Grey family were here in I found them in the year 848, maybe 849. I suppose you may find them going back further, and they were doing pretty much the same, seizing up land. The modern day ancestors, may you say, of this family, the family estates and so forth, are still ravaging the land. They have no concern for, it's just like they strip away all the mineral wealth and take away all the topsoils and anything that's of any use, and they concrete over it, their factories. And it's the same people doing the same thing. So from someone from a spiritual, looking at these people, and knowing they were called the Greys, they would see an emotionless, dead, almost cold alien. They would be completely alien to them. They wouldn't think that these people exist on Earth today, and they are still doing what they have done for thousands of years. Of course, they'd think that's crazy. But the hardcore evidence shows us that a family called the Greys passed land and deed. What is the deed to land but intellectual theft? That's all it is. Come on, this is the 21st century. We've all got at least an ounce of knowledge, a little tiny bit of knowledge, and that's all you need to realise that, well, you can't roll it up and put it in your pocket. You can't actually own or possess land. And we've got ourselves into a position where we are actually fully, all of us, excuse me, but the majority of us who'd be listening to this are pretty much wrapped up in that, whether we like it or not. So we have a long way to go. However, the
Much. The thing is, there's just so many crazy ideas out there that it's very hard to distinguish. You see, between some of the the wild ideas and the reality of things nowadays. Now, who knows? It could all be true, but people tend to kind of jump from one idea to the other, and there's just everyone's on different pages. There's no consistency to any of the stuff you hear from now on. I mean, and likewise, the direction we're going in the way of kind of moving forward as a society and getting away from everything. It just seems absolutely deluded to me that there's no kind as if one voice for freedom in this country. What would you say?
There's no voice for freedom in the country. Excuse me, I was just...
I mean, there is, but there just doesn't seem to be, one, or maybe a couple of people out there who are, seem to be of a sensible mind that aren't connected to all the, the mega banks and aren't, kind of in their own interest, that seems to be, working for us,
Well, ask yourself the same question, Daniel. Yeah, well, I suspect that person or the individual you're describing could be you. That could be you. Yeah. You could be the guy who's not major.
It very well could be. It very well could be.
Well, I'd just like to let you know you're not on your own.
No.
There might not be a lot of us, okay? But there's more than one. Trust me. There's more than one. Of course, many, and myself included, I'm connected to the bank. I have a connection to the bank. It's called a mortgage, and I'm doing my best to work that out because I shouldn't have it. I can see that. That's my own personal little thing. I'm my little battle that I'm learning to see these people as not my enemy. But yeah, I've got to deal with them. I've got to be on my daily life. I have to interact with people who really are quite happy for the situation to stay as it is. I find that quite sickening, personally. I really do. That they are quite prepared to allow what's obvious. It's blatantly obvious what's happening. And if you can't see the sexualisation of children on television, if you can't see that, forget it. Well, you wouldn't be tuned into this, right? You won't be listening to us on that day.
I haven't got a TV.
Yeah, well, all right then. On YouTube, within music, within computer games.
Yeah.
Pick any format you want. This what's known to be as Kundalini energy or creative energy has been used to manipulate people sexually for centuries. They divide themselves into these secular groups. What for? What's the purpose of them? What was the purpose of them? It's not a difficult question I'm proposing. But what is the purpose of dividing individuals up and forming them into groups? Why would you need to do that? So you can have a go-between, middleman. When we come together, Stacey pointed it out, Sarah's pointed it out. When we come together and we all sit around in a room, we all say, maybe, have a cup of tea, sit around. We all treat one another differently. Well, I've seen some of the comments that get put out on these forums, not to name any of them in particular, and they are vindictive and they're insulting, and they're doing it on purpose. They actually want, and they're doing the best to offend people. That's what they're trying to do. Lo and behold, somebody may offend them. Somebody may be rude. As far as I'm concerned, abuse is abuse. Whether it's mental, physical, emotional, psychological, verbal, it doesn't matter. It's abuse. And you'll find that someone will verbally abuse somebody. Well, quite freely, they'll get on to one of these forums and they'll verbally abuse somebody. But then they'll say, oh, well, the war in Afghanistan's wrong. And you shouldn't be violent towards people. Oh, yeah. Well, it's a good question. It's a good question that's proposed by Daniel. Triggered with me. I'd like to think that I am not controlled by a bank or a religion or a government. But I am. Of course I am. To some degree, I live in the UK. The structure, what food comes in and what doesn't come in, and what's legal and what's illegal, what we can do, what we can't do. It's everywhere. It really is. If without them, would it all fall into chaos? Well, I actually suspect it's quite chaotic now. It really is. Listening to people speak tonight, many of them I've never spoken to before, we all seem to agree. It needs, as Daniel said, truthers. I don't know if that's the right term, Daniel, but I got where you were coming from, man. Are the people that can lead us? I don't suspect there are.
Well, I don't know if you've ever seen Alex Jones in America.
Alex Jones?
In America, yeah.
I actually prefer It's Rupert Here, or Hi It's Rupert Here, because he's funny and he doesn't deal with the fear factor, which Alex is a big part of.
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, that the fear factor is, is needed, really. The people, the fear factor is part of what shocks people into reality. And I think that that's kind of needed to a certain extent in this country. People to have, you know, the realization, and the reality is a bit frightening to some extent. I mean, not quite to the extent that's going on, and not quite to the extent. Maybe
I'm not having a go at Alex. I'm not having a go at Alex here. I don't want you to misunderstand me, man, or confuse what I'm saying. That's the choir he's preaching to. You know, that's the choir he's conducting. People who, like you say, are in a massive state of fear, and if that's what they understand, I suppose that's what they want to comprehend. Like I say, it's not for me. I've lived it, so I really don't need somebody telling me about it.
I think we come from the fear, the Matrix as such. Like it says in the Matrix, I only came here to tell you how this was going to begin.
I agree, man. That fear is a predominant energy here in the experience we have, definitely. Are we manifested from fear? Well, if so, it's my friend.
But do we need it? Not really. At the beginning, yeah, but not. Once you realise you don't need it, that's when you don't need it.
I think fear is an attachment to energy. Fear that's what it is. That's how I get it, you know. I get scared of some things, you know, some daft things. Robo said something the other day. He used to get annoyed when he spilled his sugar. Now it makes him laugh. And it's simple things like that. It's just little simple things we have in life. It doesn't necessarily have to be a mind-blowing experience, you know. It doesn't have to be. It can be the subtlest and the smallest of things.
Do you want to know what I did the other day? I was walking around, and every person I passed in houses, and I'm bonkers and crazy, you know what I mean? So don't listen to me. But everything I went past, mentally, I was just thinking, love you too, love you, and love you as well. Yeah, you're right. And giving people compliments and just expressing unconditional love just to everything around me in my thoughts as I was walking along. I mean, most of the time I tried to walk along and not think, but I don't know. I don't know if I was.
Thing I've heard this year, mate. But carry on.
Sorry. I don't know. I could feel a reaction in people.
You were very, very quiet there, Dan. If you want to try again.
Yeah, let me just whap that up a bit. Yeah, no, I was saying that's one of the most sane things I've heard this year. So congratulations to him. You know, keep it up.
Oh, cheers, Dan.
Anybody else want to chip in here? Would you want to open up a new rabbit hole? Go on, Dan.
Yes, I do. It got announced a couple of days ago, but so maybe it's already been discussed on Dark City. But I mean, have you all heard about the ITCCS court case resolving itself?
Well, go on, tell us, Dan. Go on, tell us all about it. We can do everything.
This was Mr. Kevin Annett and his court case against the Pope, the Queen, the Prime Minister of Canada, and their establishments, sort of thing. And basically, primarily for the genocide of children in the care of the Catholic care homes in Canada, and but also a whole multitude of issues. And basically, they had the proof of this criminal conspiracy being led by these people. They were aiding and abetting this conspiracy and this ploy. And basically, so they founded the common law courts, and this was like the first trial to go ahead in these courts, and now they've been found guilty. I mean, it started a few months back now, and so they have until I think it's the 4th of March to to basically hand themselves in, and this means the Catholic Church and all its property, and supposedly all the Queen's property too, is going to become like public property. Well, and so let's see. I can't wait till March the 4th. I want to see.
Is it?
What happens, you know?
I'm looking this up now.
Yes, it is. Yeah, if any of you want to have a check, if any of you want to check this out, it's itccs.org. itccs.org is the website.
Yeah, I heard about this a while ago, and it's been covered a while. Well, we heard on Darkcity on Don Show from said gentleman, and yeah, they told us this was happening. Asked us people to pass it around and let people know, and I know that myself and others did do, because yeah, what an amazing thing, really. What a crazy world we live in, where you can get, well, there is a common court, isn't there? A court of common law in Canada kind of still stands. They have both courts, and there it is. There it is. It's happened. How are they going to enforce them? Now, I heard that anyone standing in the way of the enforcement of these would be, I heard that anyone standing in the way of the exercise of these warrants, is that what they call them? How do they do it? When they serve the warrant, would be also guilty of aiding and abetting or something of that nature. So I can't quite remember what it was, but anybody standing in the way of that. So, I mean, how are they going to exercise them? Maybe they're going to ask Occupy, maybe, or one of the other well-known groups to exercise the warrant.
Supposedly, anyone can, print out the verdict of this case, and under the, whatever the terms of this. At the conclusion, sorry, I'm not a lawyer. I forget all the terms, but anyone is entitled to carry out the enforcement of these of what has now been lawed. What has been now ruled into law.
What strikes me, Dan, if the boot was on the other foot, if this was the other way around, if this had been a case that had been against Gaddafi or Bin Laden or some terror faction of whatever, in the world, then these people would be being extradited now as we speak. There is no way you get away with it. There's no way. Is there a conspiracy? I don't know. My verdict's still out here, I kind of hope there is a conspiracy, and that there has been people that, I don't know, perhaps have been trying to do the right thing for us and they've messed up with it. I don't know, they're trying to cover up the mistakes, do guilt or something. Hey, maybe. I hope there is. Because we're in a bit of a mess, aren't we, if there isn't? So, yeah, it's difficult not to, isn't it? When you know that this evidence has been put before a court, and this isn't a court of us lot. What Dan's talking about here is a court like most people the majority of people are getting. Evidence is put forward and a verdict is brought, and the evidence has been put forward and the verdict's been brought, and that verdict is guilty. And we're not talking a group of weirdo fundamentalists. We're talking about Canada. In Canada. So yeah, I do believe the royal family's mentioned in that, and the government, the English government, and the previous English government, or at least they were, but maybe they've been found innocent.
No, it was all pretty unanimous, as I understand it. It's and rightfully so. I mean, they've had it. Really, they've had it coming for thousands of years, have they not?
It depends what you mean they've had it coming. I do agree that, yes, this news has been breaking for 1,000 years, but I do suspect there might be people out there going, it's already broken. It's broken. We've come across this hundreds of times. Maybe so. Each time it would appear that there's more and more people that are actually generally concerned about what's going on a worldly sense. I think a lot of that we have to thank to the internet.
Yeah, this when I heard about this case for the first time, like 2-3 years ago, whenever it was, you would have thought, oh, come on, there's no way they can touch them people, But But now, I mean, could this be one of the main reasons why the Pope stood down? You know, this could actually be what I mean. Obviously, there's all the child abuse stuff that's been going on. That's undoubtedly another major part of it. But this could also be playing a major role in this stand down.
So, excuse me, muted microphone. I was talking to a muted microphone. Is it a coincidence? You know, we mentioned Gladio before. If people look at the story of that leads right back to the Vatican. It really does. It is not a conspiracy theory. These are cold facts. It does lead to that. Are they responsible, Dan? Have they just been handed, you know, have they just been handed a big mess? Of course, when it comes to child abuse, I'm not saying that they're not responsible. There's something not right there, you know what I mean? The fact that the Vatican say basically if you're a priest or you know and you speak out against another priest about sexual abuse of any nature, so you get struck off, you know, you're excommunicated. So part of that was them saying they had to change that. They had to change that. You can't say to people, you are going to be punished in some manner for telling the truth. Okay, regardless what it is, and especially when it's something so close to us, our children. It's our children, you know. What can you say? What can you say when we all know that? I mean, like I say, that's how it is. So they are actually Vatican law. I mean, like I say, I'm like you, Dan. I'm no lawyer. I don't. I'm just, like I say, I'm a common northerner. That's what I am. Well, yeah. I mean, just from a common northerner's point of view, that's not right. That's not right. You know. The fact that they've took this to court now and it's stood before, you know, it's gone before their legal system. Again, which I'm not that familiar with. Yeah, it just gives it more validity, doesn't it? What can we do about it? You know, what can we do about it? Us lot. Like you say, Dan, it would be hard to believe, wouldn't it, a couple of years ago, that a court would actually find these people guilty of genocide.
No, it's I suppose like an international common law court. But yeah, I think it has been primarily taking place in Canada, or you know, well, at least Kevin's based in Canada, and I know a couple of key witnesses involved have been Canadian too. Yeah, I think the people in the court, in the jury and stuff, it was an international team of people.
Right. So wow, that's even more validity. You know, I wonder how much is you know. I mean, I don't actually see that. Who knows? You know that. Well, I wouldn't know anyway. I might get a television just to find out if it comes on and you know the revolution is over. The police, the constables within the police forces have actually marched on Westminster and arrested them. And they're all being held in the Tower of London, don't you know? Who knows?
Queen fed to the lions.
Well, you know, you know the policeman and you know the police constable and the police officer. I get the difference, mate. I can see that one is sworn under an oath to serve us under law, no harm, no loss, no deception, no breach of the peace. And you know, I've not come across anyone who's got an issue with that. I hear so many arguments over acts and statutes and this and that, and, you know, where's the victim? You know, and it's like, it's a good point. You know, in a lot of stuff, it's like, yeah, but hang on a minute, nothing actually happened. It's just, why am I paying this money? So I get where they're coming from, I really do. But I also suspect that the police just using them as an example here, anyone in the services, they actually joined, the majority, to serve. They actually joined to serve. When they took that oath, it meant something to them. It meant something, or at least it should have done, to uphold the law.
I do find it a bit frustrating, the amount of press inches and airtime it's beginning to Chris Hoon and his driving in his ban. Really, is that the most important thing going on in the world right now, that they've got to keep on talking about that? Really? It's a bit obvious, isn't it, Dan? I mean, it's a bit of a loaded question of why isn't this court case all over the main media stream? Why is it not there? Well, that's why you're talking about it here now, so they can give us a position to do this. Without them doing that, you wouldn't be talking about it. These people wouldn't be coming on. We wouldn't be coming together and forming. Like I say, I don't know where it's all going. I don't. I've said it many times before. I generally don't. In fact, if I would have realised I would have made myself an unpaid job for 14 hours a day, I probably wouldn't have ever volunteered. But I'm having a great time. I am. So, is this it? It's definitely another step, isn't it? I couldn't dispute that. Worldwide, from what you're saying, worldwide panel, recognised people, all coming to the same conclusion. I don't know if there's a guilty party. Like I said, maybe these politicians have just been handed the dirty, oily rag. It's just, oh God, you should have seen this. But yeah, let's have full disclosure. Let's have full disclosure. Let's, we've grown up. We've grown up. Maybe they're just terrified that there will be an uprising and we'll just wreak havoc on them. I really, really hope that's not the case. I really do. I don't see by rising up and killing people, we're going to make any difference. We just become the thing that we've strived against. Everybody's somebody's baby, Everybody's somebody's baby.
It's like that story. What's it with the people? And they're all, I don't know, they're greedy, and it's Noah's story, isn't it? No, I don't know. He goes up a mountain, doesn't he? And then comes back down. I can't remember who it is though. Help me here.
Help me. The man who goes up a mountain.
Gets commandments.
Is that the change of over from the...
Yeah, it's like that again.
Christianity.
Is Moses the changeover from what was it, the ram to something else? Something to do with the astrotheology thing.
Yeah, it's something like that, I think, right now. Like, the whole world's just in chaos, and they don't know. It's like whenever you say truth, no one will believe you, but whenever you create fiction, they'll believe it all the time. Because the only thing they know is, or think they know, is themselves.
Well, I don't know if many people know themselves. I don't know about that. I'm not 100% certain who I am.
So
I've got a good idea. Who I am. I really have, but it's only an idea. It's only an idea, I'm not going to fight a war over it. I'm not. Hey, who knows? Who knows what we are? I certainly don't. I think I'm one of the most confused people on earth. I'm not confused about the entire issue. I'll just kind of give up worrying about it. It seems to be a pointless exercise to me now. Things seem to be in motion, and I kind of moved from one cog to the other cog.
Yeah.
Kind of almost recognize the machinery of it and the mechanics of it.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. It's crazy.
And being aware of it, but having as little interaction as I can. which sounds a bit contradictory for somebody who's talking on live radio with 1,000 people listening on the stream. So anyway, we're getting towards the end of it. I know I'm getting towards the end of my day. It's been a long one today for me, but a most enjoyable one. Got a lot done, and I like to work with creative people, and that's what I've been doing for the last few days. So yeah, big thanks all around. I started the show by saying thanks to everyone for Darkcity, and pat myself on the back as well, because this is your radio. It's not our radio, okay? There's no hour in it. It's yours. There's no possession, there's no hierarchy. It's an idea. That's all it is. If you do want to get part of this, if you want to have a host your own show, if you want to come and produce, it's not as difficult as you think. Please, contact us. I've been mithered about donations. That things cost things to run and stuff and blah blah blah. Although we didn't want a donations button, right? Because that's not what it's about. It really isn't. I do kind of get. I don't like it, but I do kind of get it that that's the only way some people can feel involved, by donating money. My jury's still out on it all. It's not up to me. It really isn't up to me. I'm not really. I have an issue there. I have an issue with that. That's me personally. I'd prefer us to just carry on doing, and we've managed to, get there with what we've got. When we got stuck for computer parts, we said we need some computer bits, and hey, it all turned up. When we needed a computer expert on Linux, Dan turned up. When we needed more people to talk to us, you lot turned up. So, hey, that's where I am with it. But again, if you do want to contribute, take the jingle. Just take the new little Darkcity jingle that's posted up there and whack it about. And let's see if we can continue to do what we're doing. To do what we're doing. 2 minutes. 2 minutes before the end of the show. Again, packed with stuff. Keep your eye on that schedule. It is starting to fill up pretty quick. Our next show is tomorrow with Pax Monday. Pax Monday. Now, that's the war against terror. He dispels it. He's telling you about what's really going on around the world. A lot of the stuff we don't want to know. What's currently going on in Africa, he's touched on all sorts. These are main stories you don't get from the mainstream. So if you are about, please tune into that and support Pax Monday. It's a new thing for him. The guy's got a lot of knowledge, and he's pretty much bang on. We do have a slot which says Darkcity after that. That's again if people have got points and if people want to hang around and discuss what's come up on his show. And then after that we're on Saturday with the Resistance News. Anyway, that's us, top of the hour and all that. I'll give you our new jingle, and then I'll whack on the playlist. Again, big thanks to everyone. You know who you are.
Things, yes, lots and lots of different things. There's chat, there's music, diversity, an occasional argument, for the warmongers.
I have to channel the spirit. All right, let's see here.
This is not our radio. This is your radio. Darkcity Radio.
Television is not the truth. Television is a goddamn amusement park. Television is a circus, a carnival, a traveling troupe of acrobats, storytellers, dancers, singers, jugglers, sideshow freaks, lion tamers, and football players. We're in the boredom-killing business. So if you want the truth, go to
Darkcity Radio.